Throughout the years, my thoughts on The Ultimate Fighter was much the same of what I perceived to be the thoughts of the entire fan base. That it's played out, has long since run its course, and should have evolved into something else or disappeared altogether a long time ago. I remember watching Season 1 each week when it was airing, and I remember where I was when I watched the fight between Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar. There's no doubting how incredible and unforgettable that was, and the importance of that event and that fight to the sport of MMA cannot be overstated. I was fully invested in the first 8 or so seasons, having my interest on the series wane a little bit, only for it to perk right back up for Season 10, the first all-heavyweight season that included none other than Kimbo Slice, which made for record-breaking ratings at the time. I watched Season 10 with my roommates and have great memories of all of us, some MMA fans and some not, being highly entertained watching that. After that, I continued with a few seasons here and there, but by the time Season 14 or so rolled around in 2012, I basically dropped out and haven't watched a single new season since. After that, it was one of those things that I always knew was there and vaguely knew was happening, but the level of importance and significance of TUF seemed to have died off altogether, being completely overshadowed by a time in the sport that was seeing a big increase in the weight divisions and stars in general. I had completely lost touch with TUF over the past 10 years. That is until the pandemic hit last year, and for one reason or another, I found myself revisiting a season of the series I'd already watched when it aired many years ago. I went back and started binging all the seasons about a year ago, some that I've seen before and many I've seen for the first time, and I was very surprised at how awesome it really was. The thing that surprised me most upon rewatching a lot of these shows for the first time in 10 years was how incredibly entertaining it was across all fronts. At the core, the format is pretty basic, but it does make for a very enjoyable watch for all MMA fans, hardcores, casuals, and newcomers. There was a lot of cool things that came from revisiting TUF. It was interesting to watch how the production had evolved over the years, seeing certain things they tried out and kept, and other things they tried out and nixed. I also came to the realization that a far higher percentage of the big names in this sport came from TUF, and I'd never realized it before. I watched about 15 seasons across the spectrum, from the latest seasons to the earliest seasons, and there are endless facts I've learned. Such as James Krause fighting to get into the house for season 15 and getting knocked out and not making it onto the season, and Sam Alvey as a welterweight had no idea Neil Magny came from TUF. The nutritionist George Lockhart fought to get into the house, and Sugar Sean O'Malley's coach fought to get onto a season as well that didn't do it. A relatively unknown Kamaru Usman being a coach on Team Mayhem back in 2011 before his pro MMA career even began. The very real drama of Michael Chiesa's tough journey, losing his father and dealing with that tragedy while he was there shooting the show, only to triumphantly win the whole damn thing. And other surprising things, such as how in Season 3, Tio Ortiz is actually an incredible coach. He did idiotic things in later seasons, but he has a case for being one of the best coaches in the history of TUF based on that season, in my opinion. TUF also documented the origin of TJ Dillashaw as the snake in the grass. I could go on and on with this stuff. This video isn't long enough to highlight a lot of the significant moments that the seasons of TUF have produced. If this was a couple years ago, I wouldn't think twice about the fact that TUF 29 is coming. Now that I revisited past seasons across all the spectrum from the earliest seasons to the most recent and realized how entertaining it actually is, I now cannot wait for this season to drop. It really hasn't changed much over the years, but the formula works. It's just that a lot of us have forgotten how well. And the talent has been getting better and better every year. And some of the fights that have been produced both inside the competition and the finale has been some of the most entertaining tilts we've ever seen. The show has just fell victim to being overexposed over the years, and a lot of these incredible feats go borderline forgotten. Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonnar wasn't even the best finale in history. Dennis Bermudez versus Diego Brandao was probably the most entertaining fight in TUF finale history, but many aren't even aware that that fight happened because of the overexposure of the series at the time that diminished the level of importance and significance to the sport based on oversaturation. Now that there's been a great deal of separation since the last season of TUF, I think the timing is on the UFC's side in terms of breathing new life into a series that's been lacking for quite some time. There is no question that if Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal were coaching this season, it would be huge. But it's okay that that didn't happen, because if there's one thing that I've learned upon watching all these seasons of TUF, is that heat between the coaches isn't needed to make a season great. In fact, much of the time, that heat only hinders things. So basically, what I'm suggesting is that everybody out there who's written off TUF a long time ago, I'm telling you, it still works, it's still entertaining, and it's still delivering some of the best talent this sport has to offer. A lot of people out there who gave up on TUF should reinvest. Season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter is going to be something that all fans of MMA can enjoy.